Hello friends, welcome to my channel. This is the girl Mercy. If you're a returning subscriber, I appreciate you. If you're new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button and subscribe to this channel. Please hit the like button if you like this video, which I know you will surely like. So this is Lawyers Infohub. It's a platform where I encourage lawyers, I teach law, I share legal tips. I try to, create a platform where lawyers, young lawyers, law students, anyone who is interested in law can come in and have the feel of some legal topics, some tips, for an effective law practice or excellent practice in general. So this is my way of giving back to the society. So today I'm going to talk about something novel. Some people will say, okay, this is like a medical subject, but for me, I feel as lawyers, we should be able to know this area, and so that whenever our opinions are sought, we can be able to give it having a broad knowledge of what it's all about. So I'm going to talk about assisted reproductive technology, which is also known as ART, A-R-T, yes, assisted reproductive technologies, and the evolving ethical issues, yes. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I've made my research on this issue, and my major concern will be on the ethical issues. As a lawyer, we have the capacity to dissect issues and bring out the ethical issues in them. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get it going. You know. So assisted reproductive technology is are procedures that involve um, having a. I'm not going to explain it literally. Having a child outside the normal man and woman meeting, like the coitus. Other ways in which pregnancy can occur, outside a man and woman sleeping together. So as we proceed, I'll be looking down because I have to jot down some stuff, for ease of reference. So now it's expected that when a man and woman get married and within 1 year of marriage, there is this assumption that everybody is assuming and presuming that they will have a child, or the woman will get pregnant and all of that. And when it doesn't happen, these people put this couple or the husband and the woman, the man and the woman under pressure, society pressure of you have to have a child. Why are you not pregnant? What is happening? So, in a view to answer all those, most of these people enter into depression or start running up and down to see that they answer to the society, you know, because in our society, Africans, especially Nigeria, which is a conservative African society, where religious and ancient moral norms still have their way. We feel that having a child, is the ultimate goal of marriage, which ought not to be. So, infertility is a prevalent condition. It's still happening, and people are still living with that. And it's more prominent in developing countries like Africa and Asia. And there are several causes of infertility, which we know, which sometimes, we don't know all, but at least basically we know some of these causes of infertility. I know this infertility issue has caused a lot of psychological, emotional traumas for these people who are trusting God or believing to have a child. As much as we have adoption as an alternative, most people do not want adoption because they feel that there is no biological tie or genetic connection with the child which they will adopt. So that makes some people to feel, let's go for the alternative where we can have a genetic or biological tie with this baby. So, and now since the successful birth of the first IVF baby in 1978, that's Louis Brown, there have been a lot of new methods that have evolved in assisted reproductive technology, and it has been used routinely. You know, I know ART, assisted reproductive technology, has since its inception been has become the mainstay, of infertility management among couples who cannot bear children on their own. And it has helped a lot of families, individuals to embrace parenthood, to have that feeling of being a father, being a mother. And in Nigeria, the first test tube baby was born in 1989 at the Lagos State Teaching Hospital, and since then there has been a lot of IVF birth and other ART technology form of birth, and there has been a lot of IVF clinics, assisted reproductive technology clinics that have erupted, that have evolved, that have been everywhere in Nigeria. So the proliferation of these IVF clinics has also led to the emergence of baby factory in Nigeria, because you see that most people now we've seen a whole lot of in the television where these child factories, baby factories were busted, and you see people, the young girls who are pregnant, somebody is pregnanting them, and they are selling the child, all to help people who cannot give birth to have children. So, because this sector is not regulated, that is why we are seeing cases of baby factories in Nigeria. Now, despite this plethora of IVF clinics erupting here and there is no regulatory body in Nigeria that is in charge with this circumstance. We don't have a regulation. Though there are societies, there are bodies that try to see what they can do in this life. Like we have the what's it called again? The AFRH, that is the Association of Fertility and Reproductive Health in Nigeria. It's a society they've been trying to air their views, their voice to be heard with respect to having Nigeria having a legislation on this issue, assisted reproductive technology. You know, uh, associations like the Nigerian Medical Association has also lent their voice. The SOGON, that's the Gynecology Association. They've also lend their voice to this cry that we should have a regulation, a legislation to regulate the activities of assisted reproductive technologies in Nigeria, because a lot has happened and a lot is still happening. So this has left these IVF clinics to make their own rules, decide what happens, and the day, in making their own rules and carrying out their own procedure, a lot of people have lost their lives. Some women have lost their womb. Some women have had their womb damaged because of procedures like this, which is unregulated. These people dictate what happens, and whatever the outcome is, nobody is there to question them unless the person takes it up and maybe start writing to the Nigerian Medical Association, the disciplinary committee, and all of that. Now, there have been a lot of challenges that have been associated with this idea, which has led to these ethical issues I'm going to talk about. Now, for a rundown, for a brief understanding, for someone who just stumbled to this channel and is hearing assisted reproductive technology, and you're asking, what are these? And as a lawyer who maybe you know a little of this of art, but you don't know so much of it, and you have a client who says, lawyer, I and my wife, or lawyer, I and my partner wants to go through surrogacy, for example, and we need an agreement to help us with the third party, that's the surrogate mother, so that by the time she gives birth, to be able to relinquish any right whatsoever, the parental right he has over that child. And as a lawyer, you've not heard about surrogacy, or even if you've heard about it, you don't know what it entails, you don't know what's obtainable, you just feel I can do an agreement. You don't even know what to tell this client. You feel it's a normal agreement, but what is obtainable? Can it be enforced in Nigeria? What can you do in this circumstance? So, friends, if you're watching this video, please, I want you to leave your comments, because I feel I may not be able to exhaust all that is that pertains to this topic. Please put down your comments, put down your questions. From me to be able to maybe decide to do a further video on this, or I can also respond to your comments depending on what you're saying. But I want us to leave our comments, leave questions. Your contribution is highly, highly appreciated on this platform. So we have the known, very known one, which is the IVF. IVF is not the only ART um, technology method. No, we have several others. We have several others, but IVF is well known, and that is what most people have used and are using. So the other ones are not so well used or well known in Nigeria. Now, the IVF, it means that fertilization occurs outside the body. It's often used where a woman's fallopian tubes are blocked, and maybe the man is able to produce a few sperm. So the doctors will now treat the woman with a drug that will make her to produce multiple eggs. Yes, because you see that this IVF most times leads to multiple birth, triplets, having four children, the quadruplets, and all of that. It leads to multiple birth. Now, once these eggs are mature, they are now removed from the woman and put in a dish. Yes, and alongside with the man's sperm for fertilization. Then, after for 3 to 5 days, the healthy embryos are now implanted into the woman's uterus. This is just a brief understanding of IVF. Now we have the zygote intrafallopian transfer, which is called ZIP. Zygote intrafallopian transfer, or the tubal embryo transfer. Tubal embryo transfer. Um, this one is also similar to IVF, just that the fertilization occurs in the laboratory. The very young embryo is transferred to the fallopian tube instead of the woman's uterus. Remember, in IVF, the embryo is transferred to the woman's uterus, but in ZIP, or the tubal embryo transfer, the embryo is transferred to the woman's fallopian tube. Now we have the gamete. This is called gift. The gamete intrafallopian transfer. This involves transferring eggs. Yes, transferring the eggs and sperm into the woman's fallopian tube. So the fertilization will occur in the woman's body few times. Who probably know that sometimes most people use this method, but it's not really a very known common method. It's the transferring of eggs and sperm into the woman's fallopian tube. We have the ICSI, that's the intracytoplasmic sperm injection. The ICSI. The ICSI is the intracytoplasmic sperm injection. Now, this one is often used for couples who are in who have serious problems with sperm production for the man. It's used for older couples or people who have had failed IVF. Yes, we've seen people who have had 6 failed IVF, 7 failed IVF. It is used for them, but rather than go through that route of IVF failing again, they use this route. You know, um, you know, it, this is where a single sperm is injected into a mature egg. Then the embryo will not be that transferred to the uterus or the fallopian tube. Now we have the surrogacy. Surrogacy is mostly common in the Western region, but over time we've seen that most people in Nigeria have practiced surrogacy and they are hiding it. They practice surrogacy. And most lawyers have also prepared surrogacy agreements, but it's not well known. People just hide it. You've seen people talk to young girls, take them in, they get them pregnanted, and they'll connect with the doctor, the woman's egg and the man's sperm and inject into the lady, and the lady becomes pregnant. A whole have been happening in Nigeria, but it's people just hide it. At the end of the day, the surrogate woman is not shown. At the end of the day, the person carries his child, and that's all. They pay the person off. Now, surrogacy, this is where a woman agrees to become pregnant using the man's sperm and her own egg. But sometimes we've seen surrogacy where the woman and the man's sperm is injected into the surrogate woman's body. Yes. Now, but the child will be genetically related to the surrogate because you're carrying the child. The surrogate, the baby is in your womb and grows in your womb, so there will be a little genetic connection. But some other time, most people what they do is uh, the man's sperm is just injected into the woman's egg. There are women who don't produce eggs, who cannot have issues with their ovaries and all of that. They cannot. They usually opt for this option. They get someone who they go through that they will subject to a lot of specs to ensure this person is okay, genetically, biologically. They will now use that person as a surrogate mother, and the person signs up to say, once I bear this child, I do not have any link with this child. The person collects his her money, her money, and brings away. You know, so, um, and at birth, the person just give up on the child, or give up the child maybe for adoption, or just give them because it's a business contract for them. Now we have the gestational carrier. These are there are women who have ovaries, but they don't have uterus. They may be able to use this gestational carrier. There are women who cannot get pregnant, or who cannot just be pregnant because of serious health issues. Yes, once they get pregnant, they might be very sick, or their body cannot carry pregnancy. You know, just what happens is that it's similar to surrogacy, um, just that the egg is fertilized by the men's sperm and the embryo is placed in the carrier's uterus. So it's similar to surrogacy. We now have the AI, that's the artificial insemination. This is the process where the sperm is placed into the reproductive tract of a female. Yes, um, there was a case where a woman who works in a hotel used the sperm of a guest in the hotel, and later she claimed for benefits for her child. That's in the Western world. But artificial insemination is where the sperm is placed into the woman's reproductive tract for the purpose of impregnating her using other means other than sexual intercourse. Now, we have had situations where older single women, you know, they go to these IVF clinics, buy this sperm because it's assumed that some people are not doing business with it. They come and donate their sperm and collect money from these clinics. That is why we need regulation on this area. Most of these women they pay so much, collect it, and impregnate themselves. And at the end of the day, yes, they don't want to know who the father is. Just have their child. For them, this is my child. You don't need to know who the father is. And I don't care about the father. I just have a child. Most people go through, and it's happening in Nigeria, but it's not regulated. Yes, so it's artificial insemination. They go to these hospitals and they are injected with this sperm and they get pregnant without them no, they don't even care. They don't want to know the identity of the man because it's also part of the agreement of the hospital with whoever is donating. Like, you're paid, you don't have the right to know who is using your sperm. You don't have the right to know who we are using it on. And the person collects the money and goes away. And these women come, pay money, and they're injected with it and they get pregnant. So these are issues that have arisen out of this ART. And that's why we are calling for the legislation to be put so that there should be a legislation to help curtail these abuses, because some of these clinics are now abusing these methods and extorting money from people, and it's not a business. It's just like as people go to donate blood to hospitals, people, scam, people do all they can to go to these hospitals, donate their sperm and collect money, donate their eggs and collect money, which ought not to be. So um, it's a very dicey situation because a lot has been happening. Those have most we close our eyes to it doesn't mean it's not happening. Now, looking at the ethical issues, looking at the ethical issues, you know, now we ask ourselves, what is ethics? Is a branch of philosophy that addresses issues of morality. We are looking at it. What is the morality behind this ART? You know, um, what's the morality? What's the moral disposition towards this assisted reproductive technology? We are in a developing world and it's not yet accepted. That's why most people, when they go through IVF, they don't come out to say. They just say, God has blessed me with children. I give God all the glory. You don't want to showcase or state people, I went through IVF. So you don't want to say, so people will not bring them like, really? IVF? So it's not really acceptable because people, though for people who are learned and enlightened, there's no big deal in it. But some other people will be people don't really disclose it because you see them giving birth, the circumstances surrounding the pregnancy, they are not willing to disclose it. Now, um, now in considering the ethical nature, ethics or the ethical problems associated with this several technology, we see that there's the religious aspect of it. Now, there are lots of religious positions on this issue. Yes, a lot of religious issues have arisen with respect to IVF and the likes. Now, for the Catholics, they feel couples who are not able to give birth to unite themselves with the Lord's cross by adopting children. You know, for them, they feel IVF, although humanly understandable and scientifically is made possible, is unethical because they have the view that babies are meant to be born within the unifying and procreative, you know, surroundings of marriage. That's what the Catholics believe. They believe that embryos should not just be destroyed because it's in excess. Because they feel during IVF, the other multiple embryos, maybe the person says, okay, I think three is okay. I want three children or four. They feel that the other embryos that are destroyed amounts to abortion. Now on the issue of embryo preservation, a lot of people, you see people saying, I have my eggs preserved somewhere, I've preserved some of my eggs. And whenever I'm ready to have a child, I'll just go get them and I'll have a child. You see people say all that. Their colleagues are saying that these embryos have the right to life. And that once it is formed, it has the right, it has the full rights of a human being. And for them, that you are not physically sterile doesn't mean God is wicked to you or something evil. They feel adoption should be the way. Yes, that is their view. But they believe that an embryo has the soul at fertilization. Now, for the Anglicans and the Protestants, they have the view that there's a 14-day window period before the embryo becomes a soul. Yes. There's a 14-day period following fertilization when an embryo cannot be considered as a human being. This position reflects the opinion of the one-up committee, and to them, IVF is considered ethical as well as legal by the English Church and the state. That's for the Protestant and the Anglican. Now, for the Islam, for the Islamic sect, um, for them, using ART to care couples' infertility is permissible, provided no law of Islam is contravened in so doing. Yes. And for them, they feel that it's after 40 days that an embryo can be considered as a human. But however, they are totally against the use of gamete donor. They don't believe in going to buy sperm from someone, going to buy egg from For them, they consider as a form of adultery because they feel that child is not yours. Yes. So they are against gamete donation. The Islam is against gamete donation. And for them, it impedes on the rights of the spouse or a partner. So these are the various views, but they also, as the years go by, some of these views have changed because of what they have seen and what is now obtainable. Now, as much as a woman will want to, have a child, it's also important that her rights are preserved and protected because in the issue of surrogacy, if things are not well arranged, you will see that there will be issues between the surrogate mother and the biological mother. Having to claim this is my baby, this is my child. There are a lot of cases on this issue. There are a whole lot of cases. Now, going to the ethical issues. One of the ethical issues I will discuss starting with surrogacy. Yes. Now, after talk about the rights of the mother, the rights of the surrogate mother, the rights of the biological mother, the rights of the baby, and the unenforceability of surrogacy contracts. Now, where now because some of these contracts and these contracts are not enforceable in Nigeria, assuming that these people still go ahead to say, lawyer, please, I have arranged with this lady and I'm willing to pay her like 5 million. Um, drop an agreement in between us. I know she will honor it. And I'm not sure there have been cases of that. There could be, but I'm not aware of that. So a lawyer, you drop the agreement, and when the woman bears the child, they say, this child is so beautiful. This child is so good. Or in the course of birthing the child, there is complication, and the surrogate mother loses her life, or something bad happens to her womb, and she's saying, no, I can't birth my own child. I can't let go of this child. What happens? So these are ethical issues that we need to consider, we have to look at before parental people come to you for advice. These are things you explain to them so that they'll be aware of what is obtainable or what might likely happen. So in even parental, they insist on towards an agreement. These are factors you have to consider. What if the surrogate mother dies? What is if you're paying her 5 million, will there be an increase to her beneficiary? Are you going to take out an insurance for her? Yes. What if in the course of the pregnancy something happens and she loses her life, or something happens to the baby? Um, at what point is it at the point of birth that you have to separate from her? These are considerations. What if she wants to see it? Does she have a right of visit to the child? Should there be a connection or whatsoever? So these are the considerations you look at in putting up whatever agreement, contract you have to put. Then the issue of this unenforceability, where there's a breach, what happens? So these are many more are the issues surrounding uh, this ART technology, especially surrogacy. Now, you have cases where the court upheld the right of the surrogate mother, you know, regardless of the genetic connection of the child to his biological parent. They also had cases where where the right of the biological mother and the father was upheld against the rights of the surrogate mother. You know, so these are many more issues that can be seen. Now, in the case of Anna Johnson and McCalvert, the 1993 case reported by the Supreme Court of California. Yes, 5 California 48484. You know, um, Supreme Court of California. In this case, Anna Johnson and McCalvert. Mark and Calvert are married couple who desire to have a child. So why um, Christina, who is the wife of the man, you know, was forced to have a hysterectomy, which is like removal of the womb in the year like 1984. So her ovaries could not, produce eggs. So while they were considering having opting for the option of opting for surrogacy, uh, so Anna Johnson, who is the surrogate mother now, heard about their plight and now volunteered to serve as the surrogate. So they signed a contract providing that an embryo created by the sperm of Mark and the egg of that prisoner, will be implanted in Anna. Now, Anna also agreed that she will enrich all her parental rights to the child in favor of Mark and Christina. Remember, Mark is the husband, Christina is the wife, Anna is the surrogate mother. And at in return, the couple will pay her $10,000 in a series of installments. And the last to be paid within 6 weeks of the birth of the child. And the couple agreed to pay her to put in a 200,000 life insurance policy for her life because anything can happen. Now, in 1990, exactly January 19th, the embryo was implanted into Anna. Within 1 month, she was confirmed pregnant. Um, the relationship between them now started deteriorated because Anna did not disclose that she had had series of stillbirth and miscarriages. And they felt that now Anna felt that the couple, that is Mark and Christina, have not fulfilled their obligations or the promise they made to her. So she now sued to that she's to claim the baby, that she's the mother of the baby. While the Calverts, that is Mark and Christina Calvert, sued to be declared the legal parents of the unborn child. Now, this case brings to forefront the different types of parents that can be involved in ART. The genetic parent can have the biological parent and the legal parent. Yes. Where gametes are bought or the gamete donation, and none of the egg or sperm comes from the couple who desires a child, then you have the biological parents somewhere. Now, the biological parents, we have some and the genetic parents. While the couple whose egg and sperm were not used at all are the legal parents. So these are the issues that evolve as these ART methods are used. Now back to the case, the court ordered for blood samples to be taken. The results excluded Anna as the genetic mother. The trial court held that Mark and Crispina were the genetic, biological, and natural father and mother of the baby. That Anna, who was the surrogate mother, had no parental right over that baby, and that surrogacy contract was legal and enforceable against Anna's claim. Anna now appealed. When she appealed, the Court of Appeal, you know, allowed the appeal was allowed, reversing the decision of the trial court. The caveat appealed to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, in allowing the appeal, held that the intentions of the parties was key, and that Mark and Scriptina desired to have a child of their own gene, but they were physically unable to do so. And that although their own parentage act recognizes both genetic consanguinity and giving birth as a means of establishing a mother and child relationship. For them, they were of the view that under the Californian law, that Anna was the natural mother. So, it is that this case for me somehow, but that is under the law of California. So, for someone who has chosen to undertake or undergo surrogacy path. These are the considerations. What if the surrogate mother comes over after 10 years and says, see, that agreement we did do and no agree again. And you see the child is exposed to saying, this woman carried you, but I'm your mother, this is your father, and all those explanations, it can cause psychological trauma for the child. You know. So another ethical issue we can discuss is sex selection. You know, under IVF, you can select whether you have one, two boys or two girls, one boy. So there have been proponents of the position that this ought not to be. It's more like the doctors are now playing God to decide which sex and all of that. But we also know that biologically there is issue of sex selection even for people who can give birth by themselves. They can say, okay, if you follow this, you get a boy. If you follow this path, you're going to get a girl. But a lot of people have canvassed that leaving sex selection in the hands of doctors, in the hands of doctors or spouses who will decide, oh, let's have three girls, destroy the other ones. It's not too palatable and not good. So, but for me, I feel even in a natural birth situation, you can determine whether to have a boy or girl. You know, at though before you know the baby, the embryo is in your stomach, you know, in your womb, they can decide how okay you can do it these days and all of that. So, but they are of the view that by selecting those sex, the maybe three females, one male. The other males will now be destroyed or issue of embryo preservation and all of that. So another ethical issue on the issue of complication of procedure and quality of assurance. I've seen women, the ones I've seen women who have had their womb fail. At least I've seen two. Their wombs fell because of they've attempted like five IVFs. Six, the other one six. Yes, they almost fell. You see that now they went to the hospital, they opted for this procedure. Now that their wounds fell, they hold the doctor responsible? Because where we have a regulation, where we have a legislation, these are factors that if these doctors know that if anything is wrong with this woman or at her age, she's not supposed to go through this, and I force her because of the money I'm going to pay to go through, and anything happens, I'll be held responsible. That way to curtail this excesses. See these women living without, and what would they say? Who would they complain to? For some who are timid, they'll just like, I opted for this and I should be able to, carry whatever that comes with it. But that ought not to be. Now, what's the quality of assurance? Now, some of you see that when these couples come to the hospitals, most of these hospitals, because they have their own rules, you see them, some of them will bring out a form for you to sign that you're not at liberty to disclose the identity of the gamete donor, or you see where they for someone who's also donating maybe an egg or sperm, they will sign an agreement as to non-disclosure agreement. But how are you sure that this will not be breached? Whereby the doctor wakes up to say, Madam, do you know the owner? And I know the owner of your son. These are all a lot of anything can happen, or someone going to tell the child after 25 years to say, I know your father, causing traumas in homes and all of that. So because these hospitals operate anyhow, they decide their own laws and rules, we cannot really be sure of the quality of assurance and the quality of services they're rendering. Some go and they're successful, some other person goes and there's trouble. Now back to gamete donation. You see people camping around to see where they will donate their sperm, their egg. Young men, young women, because they are being paid some money. This is not business. It's not ethical. This is not business. Because they feel I can pay 100,000, I can pay 200,000, and people are doing it up to this minute. No regulation, they are hiding and doing it, collecting their money. Then issue of confidentiality, just as earlier said, how sure are you that your identity will be, not be disclosed? So that confidentiality and protection of donor, they might say it with mouth that we are going to do this or we are not going to do that, but you're not sure of it. You know, now the issue of possible future incestuous relationship, where this child grows up and see him or her hmm, befriending the man or the boy who donated the sperm. This is now like a daughter sleeping with the father. Possible future incestuous relationship, where these young boys are going about donating the sperm, and tomorrow this girl grows up to start befriending this man. There is a possibility. So I think these are the ethical issues that can be looked and say, can this really work? In the legislation, we're expecting things like this should be, there should be measures to curtail things like this. Now, use of donor gametes without consent of the partner, where peradventure, most of these women that go through IVF, you want 3 children, you want 4 children. Do you know where the other eggs or the embryos, do you know what happens to them? Most of these people don't know. They get their children and they are off. These hospitals now sell these embryos to make money. And without the consent of the people who own it. So this is where our legislation has to come and put in measures to stop this. This is business for people. Once this couple gets their 3 children, or they get they're pregnant and they confirm they are triplets and all of they are happy, they do not know what happens to the other eggs, because we know that multiple eggs are produced. And the other embryo, they'll say they are preserving it. You are preserving it, do you still have rights over it? So these are the issues I need to look at. These are the issues we need to look at. Now, there are also issues, people have argued that where a woman peradventure, and a man, okay, their embryos are preserved, and in a marriage situation, the man dies. Does the woman still have a right to proceed to implant that embryo and have a child when the marriage has broken, or when the marriage is over on the death of the man? You know, then we were in school, this issue was brought up, one of the classes in our family law class, and a lot of people argue that yes, the woman has the right to go and implant that embryo, even though the man is dead. At least there was a connection between them. At the time, the embryo, the egg and the sperm fertilized, the man was in the know. So the woman going to implant it is not wrong. Some people have also said no, because the man is dead. How sure are you that the man wants that embryo to become a human? So there have been a lot of back and forth over these issues, because when people preserve their embryos and the other partner, maybe there's a break in there's a deterioration of the relationship, and the other person says, I don't want anything to do with you, go your way, let me go my way, and the woman goes ahead, or the man has access to those embryos and implants it on a surrogate. Mhm. So these are many more other issues that have arisen when ART is involved. Like I've always said, lack of the regulatory body. In the UK, we have the Human Fertilization and the Embryology Authority, HFEA. They are in charge of issues of ART. In Africa, it's only South Africa that has legislation with respect to the practice of assisted reproductive technologies. In Nigeria, we do not have anyone, and these methods and technologies have been in practice for over 30 years. Because the first testing baby was born in 1989. So people have been practicing IVF and other methods, surrogacy and all of them, AICFI, on all of them, gift and zift, yet no legislation. So lack of this regulatory body has made it possible for this IVF, these fertility clinics to do whatever they want. Some of them charge as much as $4,000. Some charge as much as $15,000, and there's no assurance that the egg will survive or that there will be a fruitful pregnancy. You see people going through it 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. As much as most general hospitals are now doing it at a subsidized cost, but there is still need for a regulatory body. There is still need for a legislation to correct the anomalies that have arisen in the practice of assisted reproductive technology system in Nigeria. So another ethical issue that will be considered is high cost. Just like I've also explained to you, these things are expensive, and it is assumed it's only for the rich. So what happens to the middle income earners? What happens to the low income earners? Does it mean because they don't have money they cannot afford it? Thankfully, I know one or two organizations that are helping people who cannot have children to go through this method by supporting them financially. But how many are they? And a lot of women, a lot of men, a lot of families are in the need of children. So by having a regulation, by having a legislation, we will have a subsidy, like we'll put a place on the shelf of subsidy on this thing. Yes, but these clinics at their own, they are their own lord and master. They can know we cannot do it at this cost, we do it at this cost, and people who don't have money are left with nothing because it is seen as though IVF is more like you must be rich to undergo it. Most people, that's why most people, when they want to do something, they travel abroad to do it. Because they feel sometimes they waste so much and nothing is they're not successful. Though some people are also successful. So because of this high cost, it has limited access by poor people, low income earner to access these technologies. Because poverty is a factor. When people are poor, they can't afford millions. And we're not sure that it will happen once. There might be, you have to go through 3 times, 4 times, or 2 times for it to work. So there should be a regulation on the cost, because it has led to inequitable access. Everybody cannot access it. It's only for the rich. It's only for the high class, which ought not to be. I've also talked about the fate of the embryos, issue of its preservation. How sure that by the time you come back for your eggs, it has not been given to someone else? How sure are we with the level of preservation? How sure are we that these hospitals will not sell them? And when you come, they give you someone else's own and telling you it's yours. So measures have to be put, to ensure that when you preserve your egg, parameter you want to go that route, it is preserved. And it can say this is mine and this is mine. Rather than when you come, it has been swapped to somebody because they are in need of money, they need to collect money to give someone who's ready to pay. So because of these uncertainties, it is even very dangerous to preserve your eggs. It's very dangerous to preserve embryos because it is not safe. It is not safe. It is not safe. Now, you see, some people will say, we are donating to research. We thank from their date of heart, we are donating to research. But the question is, does this donation get to research? Does it get to research? In the Western world, you see, when people donate to research, fine. But a lot of people still have viewed it in a way that, are you donating to research? That means you're also killing people. There have been a lot of views on these issues. A lot of views. A lot. Now, issue of genetic origin. Certain questions are raised by children who are product of this ART. You want to know who gave birth to me? Is it the mother I call the woman I call mother? You have genetic mother, biological mother, you know, biological father, genetic father. So these things cause a whole lot of questions in the mind of these children when they grow up to know that, see, I'm a product of IVF, I'm a product of surrogacy, I'm a product of AI, I'm a product of Z, I'm a product of G, you know. So these children wonder what is happening. Now, genetic relatedness. You see a child growing up to know that, I'm not genetically connected to my father, I'm not genetically connected to my mother. But at the end of the day, the Child Right Act it has stated that the paramount consideration is for the interest of the child. That's the paramount consideration. Is in the child's interest to know his origin. It's in the child's interest to know his roots. You know, but most of the time, this exposure, this knowing the genetic your roots, knowing who is my real father and my real mother, my genetic father, my biological father, my biological mother has caused a lot of psychological problems and regrets. Most people want to know their roots based on maybe curiosity about their personality. Who am I behaving like? I'm not behaving like my mother. I'm not behaving like. Am I sure these are my parents? You know. So these are many more the reason why most of these children grow up to know. I want to know everything, mom. I want to know everything, dad. Now, issue of cultural issues. In Nigeria, we know the issue polygamy, patriarchy, and all of that have on children. And when people know that your children are from these methods, culturally they look at, are you sure this is not our brother's son? This are not my sister's child, And most time the issue of inheritance, most of these children are, people don't give them what they deserve because they feel, are you really part of us? A lot of discrimination which ought not to be. So it is our opinion that these cultural issues practices should not be allowed to affect children born to ART. Now that should be that based on our constitution, any child born through ART is a legitimate child. It's a legitimate child. Cases like Mojeku and Ejikeme, the circumstances of a person's conception and birth are immaterial. Because our constitution does not even acknowledge, our constitution does not encourage you saying someone is born out of wedlock. No. So any child born through ART should not be discriminated, should not be going against. They have the full rights as someone who was born naturally. You know, by Section 42(3) of our Constitution, no citizen of Nigeria should be subjected to any deprivation, disability by reason of his birth, by circumstances of his death. By the Child Rights Convention on the Rights of the Child, you know, it said all state parties must ensure that the right of a child is protected, and no child should be discriminated against because of his or her race, sex, language, religion, disability, birth, or other status. So, when you have a child, or when your clients have a child under this method, and the child is being discriminated against, our constitution has given that child the full rights of he requires. The full right a normal person should enjoy is what that child should enjoy. Because that child was not even factored his opinion was not considered when they were bringing him or her forth. So the child should not be meant to bear the liability or challenges of society. Now, there's the effect of ART on adoption. I've talked a little about it because I feel that most people do not want to go through the route of adoption because they feel they are not genetically connected to the child. But we have the opinion, especially I'm of the opinion that the rate at which this ART is going is decreasing the percentage of adoption. Yes. And invariably, it also increases the number of children who are available for adoption. Also, I would say that it is cheaper to maintain and use adoption than ART because I have explained that the high cost of ART has made a lot of people, especially people who are not so rich, to you know find an alternative, which sometimes has led them to baby factory to go and buy a child 300,000, 400,000. People go and kidnap children, all in a bid to sell to people who are in their need of children. So most people has also looked up to adoption because for them it's cheaper, you know. And most of these religious sects prefer that you go and adopt than to utilize as well. They see art as a form of adultery. The challenging nature of ART with what I've talked about, like legitimacy, parental responsibility, inheritance issues, has also made some people to feel, let me go and adopt a child. When people know say, yeah, me adopted than they will say you have gone to carry a child. They won't know that you either went through IVF. People, they won't know that maybe went through any of this technology. They say, Ogala Kurumwa, we think you have gone to carry a child. And most time when family members hear this, they are discouraged, like, no, 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 no. This is not this child is not part of the family. But where you adopt a child and it is legally done, not just going through the baby factory way, where adoption is done the right way, you know, people tend to accept that child. For me, that's how I feel. But when the birth of a child is hidden under some, people don't really know what's up. People don't really know how the child came about. People didn't see the wife pregnant. Suddenly we have a child. Um, though most times when people go and adopt, most people still don't know. But sometimes I know that when people adopt, the family members will know that this was adopted. But when someone just disappears, just within the space of 1 or 2 years, appears with a baby, I travel, I gave birth, but people begin to wonder, people begin to doubt it. But when this, I also feel this is the mentality we have in Africa. But when this ART methods, there's a legislation regulating it, I think it will create awareness to make people understand this is good though if you can afford it. And if that the regulation will help to reduce the cost. Now, ART, if we're regulated, will create more jobs for lawyers. Yes, because the only possibility of surrogacy contract and their likes, you know, it deters people to, approach lawyers to request for such agreement, even though some are still approaching. But ability to enforce it is another thing. But why I feel that when the legislation comes up on this, we have more briefs, more opportunities. Yes, because I also feel that the spouse who are looking for children, who are utilizing this method, should have an agreement with the hospital, depending on the type they are undergoing. Yes, they should able to have an agreement with the hospital not to disclose the identity of whoever is donating their gametes, or not to sell their embryos after they have, utilized the ones they need, and peradventure the hospital, sells these embryos and gives you another one, and the child is born, and tests are conducted, and to say this child has nothing to do with you, no genetic relationship. your ability to sue the hospital for breach. Yes, allowing these hospitals to do what they want is more like plunging us into the era of darkness. These associations have come up, the the Nigerian Medical Association and the rest, uh, that have tried to lend their voice to these things. We must, as lawyers, the NBA must also lend their voice to this, especially the Association of Fertility and Reproductive Health. Now, they've done a lot of sessions, interviews, they've done a lot of interactive section with the public to tell people this is what is obtainable, these are the ethical issues, consider this, consider that, and they are still calling on the government to do something. We as lawyers, if this sector is regulated, we will have more briefs. Yes. But that doesn't mean for clients, the clients will always approach you. Lawyer, this is what I'm about to do. What is your take? So you should be able to understand what artificial assisted reproductive technology is all about, the different measures, where you need an agreement, where you don't need what to do. So when your client comes, a lawyer is more like a doctor. Anybody can come to you to tell you their problem. So what can you do? What effort, what solution can you provide? It will not be so nice that someone comes to you as a lawyer and you do not know nothing about this area and the ethical issue. So when you discuss with them, also discuss with them with the ethical issues. That way, the people will be well informed. They will be understand what they want to go through. And because when people go through baby factory, it is because they are not really exposed to what they can do. They are, everything is somewhere, get pregnant, and after you collect the baby, and tomorrow if the police get you start denying, I did not, I adopted, a whole lot. But when a lawyer, if people understand that you need to meet a lawyer for this, and they meet a lawyer for some who are knowledgeable, they come to lawyer and say this is what we want to do. It's now up to you as a lawyer to advise them on the right way. Why go through a baby factory when you can go and adopt a child? Why go through a baby factory? If you want to consider surrogacy, the husband and wife should sit down together or agree on it and get it done properly. Now, it's also possible they will bring the surrogate to you and just a lawyer to say, okay, explain to our surrogate his or her liabilities, explain to our surrogate um, um, what and what she needs to understand, where her right ends. So these are, yes, some people can do it. This lawyer, please explain to this woman what we are doing, and if she collects this money, what is expected of her, or what we, it happens. That people don't say it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. But until you should go on informed to explain the right thing to the partners and to the surrogates where it comes. So I expect to hear a lot of comments on this topic. A lot of things, a lot of things, a lot of things have to are in this topic, but I've tried the little way I can to like explain and say it out. So I want to I want to see the very wonderful comments. Criticism, if there is any, but criticism with respect, yeah, not to abuse me. I need to hear people's comments on this and even experiences, what can be done, because I feel that we lawyers have a role to play in this whole thing. Because if the right thing is done, we will benefit too. And even though people are still doing it under the secrecy, people still go to lawyers to seek for advice. So it's expected that the lawyer advise them in rightly. Because for someone who is not knowledgeable on this area, when the people come to you for advice, you might end up giving them the wrong advice. But I know for lawyers who listen to who watch this channel, who are excellent lawyers, who are doing well for themselves, they will not give wrong advice. Rather, they will research and give these clients the right advice. And for someone out there who's still going through infertility, something can be done about it. Go through it the right way. Go through it the right way. If you don't have funds, there are organizations out there who are supporting people. Make your research, ask around. It's also bad to consider adoption. I'm going to do a talk on adoption. Yes, adoption is very good. What matters is the training you give a child. If you train the child well, the child will grow up and you will love it. You will love him or her. You will be proud to be a parent. But you can give birth to a child without proper training and the child brings headache. You regret ever being a parent. So, if you are still out there as a lawyer or whoever is watching this channel, you cannot or you have not been able to have a child. Relax. Go through it the right way. And I know that it will come out well for you. Don't allow society, the pressure that society brings to weigh you down. Everyone is, if you don't have a child, people take you as though you're not a full human being, which ought not to be. But don't allow that to bother you. So, friends, we call it a wrap here. This is Lawyers Infohub. If you have not subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Please hit the subscribe button, like this video, share this video to your friends. People need to hear this. People need to hear this because it's not there. People need to hear this. Yes. People lack information on this area. Please share this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the notification bell so whenever I drop a video, you will be notified. Thank you for always watching. I remain your girl Mercy. I have various contents on this channel, wonderful content, rich content, educative content. Please go through this channel, check out the ones that interest you and listen to them. Share to your friends, share to your colleagues, share to those you're mentoring, share to your friends, your family members who are in law school, or anybody you feel that topic appeals to. So just share it. Keep promoting this channel. Thank you very much. You're getting there. Yes, it's getting better. And I know you're enjoying it. See you next time. Thank you.